Welcome to the BullCast podcast. I'm Katie Pickler, and with me today is Court Winsett.
Hello, Katie.
And a special guest. Yay! Okay, so we're teasing who our new guest is going to be. It is somebody who had to travel really far to get to this episode.
True.
I mean, across the parking lot.
Very true.
And we have Ed. Ed is a part of our law firm. And he also has a podcast, which if you follow our socials, you've seen Bar Essentials. And so this is a crossover episode. Don't you love on TV shows when you have like the SVU and different, like all the different crossovers, the police and fire shows. So this is now BullCast meets Bar Essentials.
Yes.
Cross-pollination.
There we go. Ed, tell us a little bit about you and what you do here, but then really this episode is about your podcast. And so if you can just kind of give us a quick little who you are.
Fine. So I'm a lawyer across the street. I've practiced for 22 years. I've done a myriad of different things, ranging from securities to estate planning. I actually gave David Pickler an award about a year and a half ago. And then the day after I gave him that award, I called him up and I said, "You do everything I like to do. We should talk about working together." And lo and behold, it worked out. It worked out well for me. I hope it worked out well for him. And here I am.
Very cool. That's all she wrote. There you go. Normally, we're a financial podcast. You know, we oftentimes have Court step in because Court also is an attorney and he gives us some legal advice. But every time we talk about finances, we also talk about the tax and the legal aspect of it. So this is a great marriage of bringing these two podcasts together. And so we hope that our listeners obviously continue to still support BullCast, but then pick up Bar Essentials. Because how many episodes are you in right now?
I think we've published 4 so far, and there's a couple more in the can that haven't been published yet. But so far, Katie, everything's been about estate planning, and that is a big part of what we do at Pickler. All of the podcasts that we've recorded have been about various pieces involving estate planning. We intend to go far beyond that. We just estate planning is a big topic, and we just haven't gotten to the end of it yet. So probably a couple more episodes will be specifically dealing with the various pieces of estate planning that are important to our listeners.
Yeah.
And then we'll move on to some other topic that hopefully they'll find interesting.
Very, very cool. Very important. Okay, so we like to, on our episodes, we like to do a fun list. And so we're going to do a fun list that's around pop culture. And then we're going to get into what we haven't called in a while, but the meat and potatoes of the episode, the real heart of the episode.
I actually had preview to the list, and I think it's an awesome list. So fire away.
Perfect. Okay, so what we'll do is the list is famous wills and inheritance in pop culture. So do y'all want to just round robin this, Court?
Sure.
Okay, you want to start?
First one on the list is Knives Out. The entire mystery centers around a contested will. The patriarch of the family dies and leaves everything to his, was she a nurse? I can't remember. She's, anyway, Anna de Armas is the name of the actress. So basically the entire idea is when your estate plan isn't clear, chaos, and Chris Evans in a gable knit sweater ensues. It's fun. It's a mystery.
Jam-packed full of actors and actresses.
Daniel Craig plays against type, or at least it's against type for what he had been doing, because this character is very dissimilar to Bond, which was the main character that he was known for before that. But Knives Out, great movie. If you are a person who is squeamish about seeing people vomit on screen, then I wouldn't watch this movie. But other than that, great movie.
Ed, would you like to take the next one?
Yeah, so Downton Abbey. I've actually never seen it, but my mother-in-law swears by it. She watches every episode. I think there's a movie coming out soon that's supposed to be the final chapter of Downton Abbey. I'm sure she will see it. I haven't seen any of it, but as the story goes, it's British aristocrats who lose nearly everything because of the inheritance law and the entailed estates. And so that fits right into estate planning or lack thereof.
Yep, absolutely. Harry Potter. Harry inherits his parents' vault at Gringotts filled with gold. Magical or not, wealth transfers still require forethought.
Absolutely true.
The Beverly Hillbillies. Jed Clampett strikes oil and instantly becomes wealthy, passing newfound riches to his family. Sudden wealth is just as tricky to manage as old money. Does Jed Clampett die at some point that I'm not aware of?
No, but I think what this is alluding to is that when Jed's financial situation changed, he really should have gotten his affairs in order in case something happened to him so that he was able to pass it along to his heirs appropriately.
Well, and we all know that Jethro was not capable of handling the estate on his own. However, he would have been happy to tell you that naught plus naught equals naught.
Yep. Such a great show. Absolutely love it. Oh, what was his name? The businessman that was always trying to keep everything in order.
The banker.
Mr. I can see him.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on that
Clydesdale
one.
or
Drysdale?
Drysdale. That was it.
Drysdale.
Drysdale, yeah, that's it. I think probably it's my turn, actually.
Oh, wait, yeah,
All right,
sorry,
so we're
yeah.
going to do Charlie and the Chocolate Factory now. And a great old-time movie, which has been recently redone, I guess recently in the last few years anyway, where Willy Wonka, the owner of the chocolate factory, bequeaths his entire candy empire to a kid. Sometimes that succession planning skips straight to the next generation, which is absolutely true. And in this particular case, it wasn't his. It wasn't an heir of his. Nope. It was the winner of the contest.
Yep, absolutely. So you never know when you buy those chocolate bars what you could be winning. Okay, Game of Thrones.
Classic.
I think back eons ago in the Pickler realm, we ended up doing
I did an entire estate planning CLE based around the CLE is a continuing legal education. I did an entire CLE based around the estate planning lessons you could learn from Game of Thrones. It was filled with lots of good lessons and lots of great clips from the movie from the TV show.
You may have to dust that off. I'm going to want to see that.
It was very, very cool.
If you walk into the new law offices at Pickler Law, one of the first things you're going to see is some giant actual memorabilia from the show, and it's all autographed by all of the actors in there. It's very intimidating.
Oh, yeah. Very cool. But yes, lots of lessons from Game of Thrones with succession planning and lots of death, lots of unexpected death and making sure your affairs are in order.
Yeah.
What a great show, though.
That's so great. Love it.
Next on the list is The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Now, I haven't watched the new version of this, which I think is just called Bel-Air, and I must have, age-wise or something, just threaded the needle on the original one, because I had never watched it either, although I've seen plenty of clips, and I do know that it starred Will Smith. Basically, this one is, there's no will involved or estate plan involved per se, but
Will wasn't dealing with a will?
No, but he does move in with his wealthy relatives. His uncle in Bel-Air moves from Philly out to Bel-Air, and culture clash and hilarity ensues. So, and eventually I think the uncle does die. Spoiler laws, but I thought that at the end of that show they killed off the uncle. That was like the way that it ended.
I don't remember.
Okay, well anyway.
I didn't watch it that closely. And then the last one is Citizen Kane. Charles Foster Kane's estate and his famous Rosebud created mystery after his death. Dying without clarity in your wishes leaves behind questions and problems for everyone.
Yep, absolutely. So pop culture has definitely made inheritance look dramatic. It's made estates look ugly. So many movies that I can think of when dealing with illegal aspects. You know, War of the Roses is a great example of, or a terrible example of divorce. There's so many different things that make it so dramatic, but it doesn't have to be that way. You really can have your affairs in order. You can make sure your wishes are taken care of. And one of the things that I know, even on the financial side, that we refer out to the law firm is helping people have realistic expectations. Yes, your children get along now, but it's not necessarily always the children. It could be the children's spouses that cause issues. So it's better to lay your plan out in black and white, what you want, than to go, oh, it'll be fine. It'll work itself out.
Money does strange things to people.
Even if it's not like what you would consider a large amount, even just a small amount, people will lose their mind over it.
Willing to fight over it, absolutely. There's plenty of good estate planning stories of proper estate planning, and you don't hear much about those, quite frankly, because what you really hear about is the estate planning gone bad. And I've got a story or two that I'd like to pass on about it. I'll start with really lucky lack of estate planning. Now, those words don't go together very often, right? Because most of the time when you don't have a proper estate planning, or in this case, any estate planning, it's always a problem. However, I do have one story about how it just happened to work out. And I've actually told this story on Bar Essentials already. So for those of you that listen to both podcasts, this will be a refresher course for you. But one of the greatest escapes from federal estate tax in the history of the United States is George Steinbrenner. Now, for those that listen to Bar Essentials, you know I'm a baseball fan. I can squeeze a baseball analogy in or a baseball story in to pretty much anything that I'm talking about, right? In fact, my son had to play all year round for about 10 years because I loved baseball so much. And at the end, I found out he didn't love it as much as I did.
Oh, gosh.
However, he did end up being an all-state baseball player in Tennessee. So there was that. And I'm happy about that. I don't know if he is or not. But anyway, George Steinbrenner, as you guys know, he owned the New York Yankees. It's still, to this day, held by the Steinbrenner family, but at this particular time, it was George Steinbrenner, and he was kind of a cantankerous old dude. And when he died, the New York Yankees were worth 1.1, or his estate, I guess I should say, which was primarily the Yankees, was worth $1.1 billion. Now, that would be a lot more in today's dollars because this is 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But for a frame of reference, the Yankees are worth $8.2 billion today. So quite an increase in the value of that franchise. He died in July of 2010. If he would have died in 2009,
Okay.
just 7 months earlier, the executor of George's estate would have had federal estate taxes in the amount of $500 million. A reason to have estate planning to avoid that, of course, or avoid as much of it as you legally can. It happened to be a year there were no federal estate taxes. And the reason there was no federal estate taxes that year, basically because of congressional gridlock, and there was an act passed called the Economic Growth and Tax Relief Reconciliation Act of 2001. And without going into all the details, if they didn't repeal it or renew it, then there were going to be zero estate taxes in 2010. And so consequently, George just happened, well, for the benefit of his heirs, he just happened to die at the wrong time. He might argue that was the wrong time for him, but for his heirs, it was the right time. They got an extra $500 million in inheritance.
Wow.
Because he happened to die in 2010. How about that? No estate planning, came out smelling like a rose. That sounds like George Steinbrenner to me.
Yes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is very, very specific, rare cases. That is not usually the case at all.
It was the only case that I could tell you about. I don't know of another one where a lack of estate planning has worked out well for you.
Yeah, because you often hear of, Michael Jackson and so many different celebrities when they've passed away, like how ugly their estate planning is, that they just, and you expect, where were their allies trying to tell them, hey, get your affairs in order, do this, do that?
And it's shocking to me that people with a lot of assets are sometimes the worst offenders about not having estate planning. It's just, you would think they would know better. I mean, on Bar Essentials, we've talked about an example really in every podcast, and Aretha Franklin, Michael Jackson, Jimi Hendrix. I mean, there's an enormously long Prince. There's an enormously long list there of people.
Elvis Presley's estate still is drama.
Exactly. And really significant individuals with significant assets who just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And consequently, the next few years, in some cases decades, were absolutely terrible for all of the heirs because it's all tied up in litigation.
Yeah, absolutely.
In Bar Essentials, we've frequently talked about musicians because I like music and baseball, and so I talk about those things a lot. But one of the worst scenarios that if you Google bad estate planning scenarios, this one will be somewhere around the top of the list. But it's about billionaire Howard Hughes. We all know who Howard Hughes is, and he died with no will and no trust in 1976, and it was one of the most chaotic estate battles in history. He had a vast $1 billion plus estate when he died in 1976. That was a lot of money.
Wow.
Still a lot of money, but that was really a lot of money back in 1976. And when he died without any direct heirs, it sparked a frenzy of over 600 different people claiming a share of the estate, including the production of 40 different fake wills. So they had to go through all the different wills. And of course, somebody named Joe would show up and produce a will that said Joe gets all the money, right? Or a lady named Sue that has a will that said, anyway, they had to go through every one of those to ascertain which one was the appropriate will and which one was a fake. And then you had 600 people claiming against the estate. Those 600 claimants include dozens of alleged wives, children he may or may not have actually had, and, of course, distant relatives that he actually did have.
Wow.
He was only legally married twice in his life, but he apparently proposed to many others, just didn't follow through. And those many others are a crazy list for people from that era. I even know all these names, like Katharine Hepburn, Ava Gardner, Ginger Rogers, Hedy Lamarr, Jean Harlow, Betty Davis, and Jane Russell.
Wow.
It's a who's who of that era.
Yeah.
And apparently he was romantically linked with all of them. It took decades to settle his estate because of the lack of planning. And in the end, the U.S. government took $169 million of his money, which compared to the $1 billion he was worth was not so bad, but still, nonetheless, it's $169 million less for his heirs. And the remaining estate eventually was worth $2.5 billion, and it was distributed to 22 of his cousins, which may or may not have been the people that he wanted his money to go to. But since he had no estate planning, it was the state that decided, and 22 cousins got roughly $2.5 billion of Howard Hughes' money, whether Howard Hughes liked that or not.
He could be rolling over in his grave like, I didn't want those people to get it. But he did not make the plan while he was alive just so that he could still stay in control once he's in the ground.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Estate planning is your last opportunity to speak from the grave.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why it's important. Because otherwise, Katie, I know you know this, but if you don't have a will, it's either the court or the court interpreting state laws that are going to say who gets what. And and that may align with what you wanted to do, or maybe it didn't.
Yeah. A lot of times we meet with clients and they're like, oh, I don't need an estate plan. I don't have a lot. And it's like, well, okay, here's your thing. When you pass away, who do you want to be in charge? You or the courts, the states? And usually that kind of gets them of like, okay, I'd like to be in charge. Especially my clients that are a little bit more type A. I'm like, look, this is your way where you can lay it out perfectly and you really can stick it to whoever you don't like of letting them know in your estate plan, you don't get anything.
And just as importantly, make sure that who you want to get it gets it.
Absolutely.
It's just devastating that people don't plan more. I mean, in one of the podcasts, the title of it was "Who Needs a Will?" And spoiler alert, everybody does. If you're over 18 and you have any asset, you need a will.
Yeah.
Now, you may not need a full estate plan with powers of attorney and medical powers of attorney, living wills, and maybe a revocable trust or even irrevocable trust. You may not need all that, but everybody needs a will. Yeah. Everybody does. Otherwise, the state's deciding. You know,
I'm jumping around a little bit, but I know a lot of times, just like the financial industry, the legal industry has a ton of jargon, and somebody will come to us and we'll defer to the law firm. Oh, I need a trust. And they may say trust, but they are thinking a will or they're thinking of a power of attorney. And so whatever you think it is you may need, just go and talk to an attorney, talk to somebody like you, Ed, and figure out what is it I need? Because an attorney is going to help you figure it out. They're not going to recommend a trust for you if it's not really what you need.
I agree with that. And there's several great attorneys over at Pickler Law, yes. and I like to think that I'm one of them. Any of us would be glad to help you.
Yeah, we got a whole great team over there. The law firm really, guys, I went on maternity leave and I came back to a whole different ballgame over there. Law firm went from we have David and Court and John Long, and then all of a sudden now we've got all these new faces. We've got these great players, and it's awesome because it's continuing to better take care of our clients, to really hit different areas of the law. Because I know you also dabble with business.
That's right. Okay. I do a lot of business law, contracts for, purchasing things, contracts for selling things. There's a lot of, in the healthcare industry in particular, there's a lot of aggregators out there. And I've helped a number of eye doctors, internists, and orthopedists sell their practices to these aggregators. And so kind of a jack of all trades. Occasionally somebody will come and say, can you help me with this? And I say, hey, I really don't know anything about that. The breadth of knowledge just of the things that I've been exposed to over the last 2 years is pretty wide. And so I actually like it when somebody shows up with something, I can do estate plans all day long, and and those are important, and that's a big part of what I do. But by the same token, when somebody shows up and says, hey, I've got this other thing, I'm usually interested in the other thing, but just like everybody else, it's something else.
I think that's like a criteria to work at Pickler. You got to enjoy a challenge.
That's right.
We all like a little challenge with this.
I do have a question, Katie, about what you just said. What does it say about your dad that he chose to do all this expansion while you were out on maternity leave?
I don't know. That's, I came back and I'm like, what is happening? What is going on? He had to stay busy, had to keep things going. But no, it's one of those that we keep trying to find a need for our clients. And we were seeing, I was explaining to somebody the other day, how did it evolve from the law firm to the accounting firm to what we are now? And we keep seeing what are our clientels coming in, and we have more and more clients that are needing business help, more and more clients that are needing other things. And can we give them those sources at our discretion? And talking to clients, it's a one-stop shop.
Yep.
Whether you come through the law firm, the accounting firm, or the legal, you've got all aspects to work with.
And that happens all the time. I mean, clients will show up in our office and we'll have a consult with them about estate planning or something else, and they'll be looking at their watch and they're like, hey, I got to go. I have an appointment in wealth management in 5 minutes, or I have an appointment in the accounting office in 5 minutes. And so the clients really do that, and I think it's a great benefit for them that it is a sort of literally a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
I mean, you pull into this parking lot and there's 3 different buildings with 3 different sort of streams of assistance, and just a matter of which one of the buildings you're going to.
Yeah. We may have to get us a little coffee shop or something. So it's like these clients that are here all day. It's like, just go visit the coffee shop over there and ready to go. Court, you're being real quiet.
Oh, I mean, listen, between the two of y'all, there's not a whole lot of room for me to get anything edgewise.
That has never been an issue in the entirety of me knowing you, of you being silenced.
No, I mean, there's nothing that anybody has said that I disagreed with or that needed correcting. About the only thing is I would mention that it's not just 3 buildings, it's 4 buildings. Other than that, y'all have pretty much hit everything dead on.
Well, and looking on this, when money meets law, obviously having those estate plannings are very important, but also it's whether you say if you worked with us and you work with us on the financial side and the legal side, then, we're going to have a good relationship. We're going to make sure all your stuff is aligned. But if you don't work with us on either side of that, just make sure your attorney, your tax person, and your financial person are all kind of on the same page here. And really, it works in tandem together. A mistake I've seen that has caused, obviously, estate issues is people leaving ex-spouses as beneficiaries.
Happens all the time.
And they don't think about it. They're like, oh, I forgot. And now all of a sudden, you've been married to this lovely other person, and now the ex is coming back into the picture.
Since we're talking about beneficiaries, another major mistake that we deal with on a pretty regular basis is sort of a misperception of how your bank accounts and your financial accounts and the beneficiaries that are on those accounts and or the beneficiaries that are on your insurance policies and so forth, how those work with your estate plan. Because the fact of the matter is, you can set up an estate plan that says, I want all of my assets to go to this person, this person, this person, and this person. Mm-hmm. And if all of your assets are in, just to make it easy, a checking account at First Horizon, every single dime that you have to your name, even if it's $1 billion, is all in one account at First Horizon. Not that I would recommend that.
That'd be silly.
Yep.
And you have a beneficiary designated on that account that's Joe Blow,
Joe Blow's getting it.
Joe Blow is getting all of your money, regardless of what your will says.
Beneficiaries trump whatever is in
on
an estate
any
plan.
account that you have. If there is a beneficiary designation, that passes to the person who is listed as the beneficiary outside of your estate, notwithstanding anything that you've said in your will or in any trust that you might write. You don't override your beneficiary designation. So when you're talking to your attorney and or when you're talking to your financial advisor, if you are thinking that you want all of your money to be divided in a certain way and you're including in your mind every dime that's in all of your retirement accounts, every dime that's in your bank account, the value of your home, if you want all of that to be included in your estate, then you need to make sure that everybody is aware of that and that you have beneficiaries that are designated accordingly on your financial accounts, on your IRAs, your 401ks, on your bank accounts, and you also want to make sure that the beneficiaries that you want are reflected properly in your estate plan. Mm-hmm. It's not just a matter of saying, here, I want it to go to these 4 people, my 4 kids equally, boom, done, sign the will, everything's taken care of. If your 401k
still has your ex-husband,
some random person designated on it, then guess what?
We had that happen literally in the last 2 weeks. Somebody walked in and said, my mom and dad have been divorced for 10 years. And through the divorce decree, dad was entitled to all of the retirement accounts, just as you're talking about now. However, he forgot to change the beneficiary forms, and the ex-wife is the beneficiary on that form. And what can we do to get the money to who he wanted it to go to rather than the ex-wife that he really didn't care for that much anymore? Yeah. And my response is I'd be really nice to the ex-wife because it's her money, and the only way you're going to get any of it is if she chooses to give it to you. And of course, that was a little tongue-in-cheek because the ex-wife was thrilled to get the money and she wasn't letting it go, and there's nothing legally you can do. The divorce decree saying that the accounts were dad's gave dad the right to do whatever he wanted with them. And he did not change, Court, to your point, he did not go change that beneficiary form. And so when he died, that benefit of that account was paid out to that beneficiary, which in this case happened to be the ex-wife.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things, again, because we try and tell y'all stuff as it happens to us, how an account beneficiary is set up, you really need to pay attention to, but how the account is structured. So, for instance, we had a situation recently, a bank account was set up and it was a joint owner bank account. And so when that one person passed away, that money became that other owner's to do whatever they want with it.
Mm-hmm.
And other people involved assumed that that money was then going to the estate.
Mm-hmm.
And really it was that individual's money to do whatever they want with it. Now, if they choose to then put it towards needs for the estate, whatever, that's up to them, but it's their money. So be very careful when you're structuring accounts, whether it's bank accounts, investment accounts, and how you're structuring your beneficiary, because you need to think about what could happen. And again, I've been called the love killer when I try and push prenups and I try and push things like that. But also you never know what people are going to show when money is involved.
That's absolutely
Even
true.
if it's $100 to $100 billion, people will totally change, and it's better to have it exactly what you want. My last little disclaimer on this, if you have a loved one or you are personally dealing with, you got a bad diagnosis, something's going on, a big change has happened. Yes, that is a critical time that you're trying to process emotionally what happened, but at least have someone go through and audit how your accounts are structured, your beneficiaries, your estate plan, and make sure everything is in line. It's not saying that you're going to die. Hopefully you make it through and you are overcoming whatever the diagnosis is, but wouldn't you rather check it and make sure you're in line than to go, oh, I'll deal with that if it gets really bad. Deal with it now.
Yeah, and Katie, alongside that thought, we have lots of people that call us, come see us, and they think that their loved one is near end of life, and so now it's time to estate plan. Well, it's never too late if they're not already gone, but oftentimes keep in mind that the grantor of all those various powers has to have the capacity to sign. And if mom or dad is physically fine, mentally not fine, they don't have the capacity to sign those documents. In that case, it probably is too late.
Yeah.
And so, it's always good to do, always good. If you're over 18, now is the right time.
Right. And furthermore, if you are dealing with an attorney who is ethical, the attorney has a responsibility to make sure that the person who is signing these documents is actually capable of understanding what it is they're signing.
And the witnesses and the notary as well.
So if you come into my office and you tell me, oh yeah, I'm going to bring my dad, or can you come and visit us at his house? He can't move. Well, is he okay? Is he cognizant? Is he aware? Is he? Yeah, he's perfectly fine. He's sharp as a tack. He's on fentanyl. So, he's a little drugged up, but other than that, he's good. I'm not going to be able to have a person, even if they're able to scrawl out their name on a document, I'm not going to ethically be able to support that person's execution of their estate planning documents.
Absolutely true.
And last but not least, another thing that comes up with us frequently, if you have a person who you have designated as your agent under a power of attorney document, you think they can take care of all of your affairs so they can handle stuff for you when you die. That is just not the case. Power of attorney, agent under a power of attorney. That power of attorney expires the moment you pass away. And so I have dealt with people who were creating their estate plans, who thought their power of attorney would be able to do stuff for them after they were gone. And I've dealt with people who had power of attorney, who were an agent under a power of attorney, who just kept right on doing stuff after the person died, and they shouldn't have.
Agree.
So
I think, some people get confused by that word durable.
Yeah.
The durable's after incapacity, not after death.
No. There's nothing that you can do to make a power of attorney continue after a person's passage. You could have a trustee that continues to be the trustee after someone passes away. And you can have a will that designates that a person in your will is going to be your executor and handle your estate after you pass away. But the power of attorney, it stops. So don't rely on that.
So, I know the answer, but how often should somebody update or look at their estate planning documents?
Minimum every 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Including, to Court's point, including the beneficiary designations. I mean, I'd look at all of it every 5 years. Things happen.
Oh, yeah.
You get married, you get divorced, you have a kid, somebody dies, somebody is born, whatever the case might be. Things change, and really to look at your estate planning documents that already exist every 5 years, even if you do a thorough job to see if you need to update them, you're talking about an hour or two of your life, and that's it. It's certainly worth spending that time to make sure that everything's exactly like you want it.
And it doesn't stop at just looking at it. If you know that you want to make changes, then you have to actually actively do what is required of you to make those changes. You can't say I want to make changes and then boom, the changes are done. You have to follow through with your attorney, express to your attorney what you want those changes to be, actually meet with your attorney and sign the documents after they're prepared. All of that stuff has to happen before any of the changes that you've just said you want are going to become effective. And there's only so much that any attorney can do or would do to encourage you to make those changes and to make those documents effective. I'm not going to twist your arm to come in and meet with me and sign to make changes. Somebody turns around and says that I coerced you into changing your beneficiaries. That's not my thing. So you got to you've got to be involved and you got to make these decisions. But being superstitious about what signing these documents is, what effect it's going to have or what it means for you personally. I don't want to diminish anybody's concerns over something like that, because signing a will is acknowledging our own mortality, right?
Yep.
But signing your will is not going to make your mortality any more or less a fact of life.
Legally, an unexecuted idea is just an idea.
Absolutely. 100%.
I'm going to steal this from my little baby's PT doctor. He said it yesterday and it stuck in my head. If you have the ability, you have the responsibility. And so if you want this, you've got the ability to reach out to the attorney to get this done. You're responsible for it. The attorneys can help you with it, but you have got to put in the work for it. Last thing about that is there are so many ins and outs. Just as we preach about your financial planning and what investments to do, you cannot get ideas off of TikTok. You can't get ideas off of Facebook because everybody is unique. The exact same thing with legal, because as Ed, you were talking about different dynamics, then I was reminded of, you've got to think about not only who are you leaving money to, but you could go and talk to somebody and you may be able to handle your wishes in a way that covers everybody. Hey, I really want to leave something to my son, but I do not like the wife he's with right now. How can I protect where he gets this and she doesn't? Or your attorney may be able to tell you, hey, if you leave this money, you could end up messing up that child's benefits and it needs to be a special needs trust. So there's so many different ins and outs that it's better to not only just, hey, I looked, the will's still in the safe every 5 years. It's really take a hard look at it, schedule a meeting with an attorney to review and go over it. Also, laws change because that's what we had the power of attorney documents recently. I guess that wasn't that recently, but
but to your point, it's true. When things change, sometimes you need to update, and it's absolutely true. And I would highly recommend that if you don't have one, get one, and if you do have one, review it every 5 years and have an attorney review it for you, just to make sure. Life happens, things change.
So, a couple of things for you attorneys here. So, if all of a sudden you've got this document, just to clarify for everybody, I've got this document that I put together with, Joe Blow attorney in 2015. I've now executed a document with Pickler Law Firm 2025. That 2015 one is trash.
In the world of wills, the most recent one is the only one.
Okay. Perfect.
Wills.
Very good.
That's specifically what applies to wills.
So what about trust and stuff like that?
Trusts, it depends. And I know that Katie credits me with saying that a lot more than I actually do. But in this case, it really does depend. It depends on whether or not you have explicitly revoked a previous trust, whether the documents that you're executing amend a previous trust, or if it's just a brand new trust, because one person can have multiple trusts.
True.
So creating a new trust now does not necessarily get rid of an old one unless you're explicitly saying, this is my revision of this old trust dated on this date, and it supplants that old version entirely. That old version is no longer valid. Same thing with power of attorney documents. Power of attorney documents, not only does it depend, but it depends state to state how a new power of attorney document is going to reflect on an older power of attorney document. There are states that allow multiple power of attorney documents to exist at the same time, granting the same powers to different people. And so you could have conflicting documents where you have two people that want to carry out two very different things for your life. And both of those documents under certain states' laws could be effective. So we do at our firm, we always make sure that if you are creating a new power of attorney document, you want the old one to no longer be effective. We make sure that we explicitly revoke any previous power of attorneys when we do the new one. It's just good. It's good sense if you want to get rid of all your old documents to state this is a revocation of my previous power of attorney. Any previous power of attorney that I had and signed is no longer valid.
Yeah. Well, and just like you said, the estate planning document that's not signed is just it's an idea. It isn't anything. A trust that is created that has nothing inside the trust
is not worth the paper that it's written on.
Yep.
Yeah. You actually have to fund a trust. If you don't fund the trust, you wasted your time making the trust because it has no validity at all.
Yeah. I saw somewhere, and I love this visual of a trust is kind of like a house. Everything that's in the yard is not included. You've got to put everything inside the house and what's covered in that. So don't leave everything out in the yard.
I've never heard that analogy, but it's accurate.
Okay, Ed, what else would you like us to know about you, about the law firm, about Bar Essentials? I really feel like this is going to be something that between you and the other attorneys that we're going to try and have a legal podcast episode, once a quarter at least over at BullCast.
Yeah, well, I was going to say at the end, but I'll just say it now since you sort of went there. This has been a lot of fun. I want to come back. I hope I get a chance to.
Absolutely. We'll have Cameron back.
The Bar Essentials podcast is more structured than this in the sense that I'm trying to pass on as much education in a short period of time as I can. And so I very much enjoyed this back and forth, this conversation that we've had. Bar Essentials.
Compliance, it's a Pickler Law product. It is not a Pickler Wealth Advisors product.
Pickler Law. We talk about nothing but the law. We never mention securities. We just act like they don't exist while we're recording them.
Yep.
Very good.
When I reached out to David, who everybody knows own all of the companies, and he's such a gregarious guy, and what I've really found is that his clients really, really love him. I mean, and that's to benefit us some degree because we have people that come down that say, I'm hiring you as my attorney because we love the guys up there so much, and that's beneficial to us. Personally, I thought I would really like it here, and admittedly, I like it a lot more than I thought I would.
Okay.
I had high expectations, and it's been great. We have the capacity to do a lot more than we're doing. We have spirited discussions over there about various topics daily because we had 7 things to do and we had capacity to do 9. So, we're not so busy that we wouldn't love to have you come over. And if you've got some one-off topic that you want to talk about, we'd love to talk to you about that. But on the other hand, we're really, really, really good at estate planning. And if you don't have it, you need it to be reviewed or you need it to be updated, we'd love to do that for you too.
Okay, well, we threw a lot at you in this episode. Obviously, I'm going to say listen to Bar Essentials. You can find that on our website. You can find it on our socials. It's going to be through the Pickler Law aspect again, not through Pickler Wealth. But Ed, this has been great. Really enjoy getting to know you, getting to talk with you. And I think that I'd love to continue to have kind of the war stories, the fun stuff. And maybe we'll bring that Game of Thrones episode. We'll make that an episode as an addition to maybe like a CLE down the road.
If you do, I'm coming to listen if I'm not on it.
Oh, yeah. We'll need our legal expert on that one. Maybe the one that I just sit in the corner and let y'all go at it.
There might be some copyright issues that we had to deal with if we did it the way I did it before, because I used a lot of clips, and the clips were the most fun part. But, hey.
Maybe we could just act it out instead.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll have actors back and be like, okay, scene.
Oh, no, I meant us.
Yeah, my favorite clip, one of my favorite clips from that show ever is between Tyrion Lannister and Joffrey. While Joffrey is not yet king, he's a prince, and Tyrion. I think it's in the very first episode, either the first or maybe the second. Tyrion just slaps the heck out of Joffrey, just wails him, and Joffrey like falls down and is like, "You can't do that to me!" And he stands up and comes at Tyrion, and Tyrion slaps him again and says, "I'm gonna keep slapping you. You just need to understand that you need to behave right." And I love that scene. And everybody who ever has watched Game of Thrones and is familiar with the character of Joffrey,
you want to slap him.
Really, really loves that scene because it's just fun to watch Tyrion slap him over and over and over again.
Don't slap anybody. Get your estate plan in order. If you don't have one, get one. If you have one, hadn't checked on it in a while, check it. Check your account structure, check your beneficiaries, listen to BullCast, listen to Bar Essentials.
Would love it if they would do that.
Oh, there's the closing bell. Ladies and gentlemen, you've made it to the end of yet another episode of the BullCast podcast. If you liked what you heard and you'd like to hear more, please feel free to go to your favorite subscription service and sign up to have our podcast delivered directly to your device every single Thursday at noon. If you'd like to find out more about Cortland, Katie, Cameron, or Nicole, please feel free to go to our website. That website is bullcastpodcast.com. We've got pictures up there, we've got our bios, and we've got a place where you can drop a comment or suggest a topic you'd like to hear us talk more about. But hey, I mentioned pictures. We do have an Instagram handle, and we've got pictures there. That handle is at BullCast Podcast. We also have an X handle, which is also at BullCast Podcast. And rounding out the social media, we have a Facebook page, which is BullCast the Podcast. But, ladies and gentlemen, here's the part you've waited for. You know that every single episode, I like to mention the fact that Katie, Cameron, Nicole, and I all work at a place called Pickler Wealth Advisors. And if you would like to find out even more about us, find out about what we do, find out about what we could do for you, find out about our amazing team, and find out about our boss, David Pickler, please feel free to go to that website. That website is picklerwealthadvisors.com.
That's advisors with an O.
Not an E. Ladies and gentlemen, we have given you all the information you need to get on over to Pickler Law and find yourself a lawyer and get yourself an estate plan, or just to listen to Pickler Law's new law-related podcast by Ed Brundick.
Woo!
Thank you for coming on, Ed. So for now, I'm Court.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Ed.
And we're done.